Hey guys, welcome back to That's Fighting. This is round number 2. Go check out round number 1 where we broke down Jorge Masvidal taking on Kamaru Usman. This one, however, is going to be the co-main event of the night. We're going to be breaking down Alexander Volkanovski taking on Max Holloway in a rematch for the featherweight strap. Let's just jump right into this, shall we? Now, in the first bout, we saw Alexander Volkanovski use what we all consider to be some pretty good leg kicks to gain the upper hand and thwart the boxing, the world-class boxing at that from Max Holloway. I'm very interested to see how Max Holloway makes adjustments approaching this rematch. He was in the UFC embedded, I believe. He was kind of talking about how a lot was made of the leg kicks more than they actually were. He said a hard leg kick that actually hurts are the ones that sound like a thud, not a slap. And if you listen, you can hear a lot of slapping. So he was throwing them for the sake of throwing them. Regardless, it's about optics, and that's how judges go and judge these fights. So with that being said, what do you see happening in this fight? I'm really interested to hear what you think here, Nate.
I was very disappointed to learn that Max Holloway has been training exclusively via Zoom. I think that's, I don't know if you heard that, but he did I don't know if you saw, I think he did the interview with Ariel. And he said, where he's living, he can't, it's against the law. You can't have people over. So he hasn't been able to. I would have thought, okay, well, Max, go somewhere where you can, right? Like, you have to be training if you're going to go into a world title fight, especially against a killer like Volkanovski, who, much like Usman and Jan, all three undefeated in the UFC. So that's something to look out for this weekend. But the fact that he's not, let's say for real, Max Holloway hasn't been punched in the face since his last fight. Dude, that's a long time. And good for him. I know not everybody spars, but we do our show via Zoom, and sometimes it freezes, and then we have to, re-record parts and do adjustments. You're telling me Max Holloway now, as world class as he is going into this fight having essentially just shadow boxed for as long as it has been, right? He hasn't been able to grapple except with a dummy. How's he been taking leg kicks? How's he been building tolerance to, this kind of stuff? How is he feeling out, Volkanovski? I know he had 25 minutes with him before, but, in New Zealand, Volkanovski's training with Stylebender and the rest of them, right?
Right.
They have no problem there. They can congregate. They can be in their gyms. I'm so disappointed to know what I know going into this fight, and I wish that it would have been different, because I think with the full camp and making adjustments, Max could have regained that belt. But at this point, I just don't see how that's possible. How can we possibly write off? It would be disrespectful to Volkanovski to say Max Holloway, who's only shadow boxed for 12 weeks, is gonna at best 12 weeks, right? Let's call it closer to 8, is gonna take the strap off one of the best dudes in the world, in one of the best gyms in the world, if not the best right now. Man, I wanted to see Max be able to, pivot his hips and avoid more leg kicks and go in, and maybe, I don't know if he wants to close distance or keep it long. I would think that he would want to close distance this time so he's not subject to those leg kicks. But I just don't see how, what his path to victory is this time. Max doesn't have the most knockout power in the world. The only adjustments he could make would be from memory. He really hasn't trained for this fight. So, and I know Volkanovski has been. I think Volkanovski's going to put the work in and beat him probably worse than he did the first time. Which, I have a heavy heart when I say that. I say that with such a heavy heart too. But go ahead.
100%. And so I'm going to quote here from Volkanovski what he's told ESPN. He said, "To be quite honest, I don't believe that. That's all shit. Whether he's doing it to cover things on his end, I don't want to accuse him of anything, but we had to get exemptions to train, so I couldn't train until I got that done. So there was a lot that needed to happen on our end from the government as well. Again, I'm not going to accuse him of anything, but I don't believe that he hasn't been training. I'm preparing for a fully prepared Max either way." So obviously these guys met back at UFC 245 in December 2019, and Volkanovski won the unanimous decision to become the new champ. And if Holloway has indeed not been able to get proper training in and is training only via Zoom, I have the same amount of reservations as I have with hearing that Mike Perry had his girlfriend in his corner. Now, the difference is Mike Perry was fighting Mickey Gall, and Alexander Volkanovski, this is a championship bout against a guy who's 21-1. It's much different than a Mickey Gall, who we know because he fought CM Punk and they said, "Oh, he might be a gimmick, but I'm not." There's nothing gimmicky about championship level fights in the premier promotion in the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
I hope for all of our sakes, honestly, that Max has been training. Otherwise, he really doesn't have a shot in this fight. When I heard that news, if it is news and true, I instantly was like, "Oh, well, where are these betting lines? What's going on here?" Because that's got to sway things. That's got to sway
Yeah.
where people are putting their money. Max Holloway is, in a lot of people's mind, not even arguably, but just straight up the best featherweight in
Ever.
UFC history and just ever, period. And, taking out Aldo twice and all of these things. But when you're leading the pack for that long, a la John Jones,
Mm-hmm.
people can watch what you do, and the separation that you created between you and the next best competition gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and it shrinks more and more over time.
Yep.
If you could then lose and then can't train, we're in a bad spot here. I don't like that. I heard that. And if you're only training over Zoom, like, again, I think Volkanovski, even just the way that he interpreted it, he wasn't being engaging in bravado. He was just being straight up like, "Hey, look, I'm training for this dude fully, as if he's fully prepared from a normal camp." I'm not going to believe that. And that is the right mentality to carry into this fight. And Volkanovski is looking to make a statement and say, "Hey, look, if this guy's the GOAT featherweight and I beat him twice in a row back to back, and he's 28 years old, is Holloway. This guy's not like he's way over the hill and he's 38. He's 28. So you go and beat him twice. You, at the very minimum in people's eyes, you have his number. And in other people's eyes, at the very maximum, maybe you're on the way to go in with a few more defenses, quite a few more defenses, becoming a GOAT contender in that category that yourself as well."
Yeah, I think, and dude, if I just got duped by Max, let me tell you, if he goes in there, just puts on a clinic and he goes, "I was just kidding. What do you think? I'm just training via Zoom." Yeah, shut up, everybody. I would be like, "Oh, damn it, Max, you got me. I can't believe I was a mark for that." I would have been pissed. But let's take him for his word, because I don't know, like, that's a pretty bold thing to say if it's not true, right? I still think Max could do great things, right? Like, I don't necessarily think that just because Volkanovski has the style to beat Max, that he has the style to beat everybody in the division now for the next however many years. And we've seen that Max going on his 13 fight win streak. I think it was 11 or 12 or 13, something like that. That he does have the credentials to beat damn near everybody else in the division. So that being said, if he gets knocked out in the first round, which is very well could happen if he hasn't been training for this fight, right? Then yeah, it probably takes some time. Maybe he starts cleaning up at featherweight again and builds his way back up, and hopefully Volkanovski loses and he can fight the new champ. Or, go up to 155 and fight a guy not named Dustin Poirier, because Dustin
Right.
Poirier is not by any stretch the gatekeeper. Dustin Poirier is the elite of the elite. You can probably make a very good career at 155, beating damn near everybody else. And then at some point, Dustin Poirier will just have to stop making 155. He's already said, "Listen, this is way too hard for me as is." I think if Dustin Poirier, and we'll get into this later in, I think, round 4, let's say Dustin Poirier, loses his next title shot, we got a new contender at 170.
Right.
Right.
The people rejuvenate their careers by changing the weight classes. Look at Jose Aldo. Look at
Right.
quite a few of these guys that have went and changed. Because the thing is, Chael P. Sonnen was saying this a few weeks ago, or maybe a couple of months ago. He was saying, when you go into a new weight class, your record is 0-0 there. It doesn't matter what happened before. You could come off a 3 fighting losing streak at a different weight class. This is a rebirth in a way. And 100%, I have to agree with him there. And it's a reality check. Honestly, same thing goes for Max. Like, you lost to Poirier, came back down to your weight, lost to Volkanovski. If you lose again, now it's time to go back to the drawing board and really think about, maybe I go do some weight training and some strength training and put on some muscle and try to go get ready to go for 155 or something. Something needs to happen. Something needs to change. No more Zoom training. These things along these lines. Like, if I was a world-class fighter like that and I couldn't train with other bodies in front of me and with me, I don't know if I'm taking that fight instantly, because at any point you can say, "Hey, give me my title fight." Like, I mean, you've been the champ for how many years? You have that right. But if you aren't in the situation where you can go into this and reasonably say, "I'm fully prepared to go and make this a 1-1 and turn this into a trilogy," I don't know
Mhm.
what you're really kind of biting off more than you maybe be able to chew. But that's the Hawaiian beast, the warrior that Max Blessed Holloway is.
Yeah, and if you're training by yourself, you better call up El Kukui and ask him how he does it, right? Because unless you're Tony, you know, Max isn't psycho. Max is
Right.
blessed. But anyway, I love that you brought up Jose Aldo because that is a perfect transition for us to launch into round number 3. Final predictions, Mike. You're going who and what round?
I'm going Volkanovski, and I'm gonna go decision because Max is just too damn tough.
Yeah, I'll say the same. Volkanovski decision, but more convincing decision, like maybe a couple more 10-8s this time
Ooh,
than in the last one.
spicy. I like it.
Mhm.
Well, that concludes round number 2. On to round number 3 here. Jose Aldo, Piotr Jan on the other side. We'll see you guys on that video.